off. If y'all aren't familiar with what dampening off is, it's a fungal or bacterial infection that gets into the stem. If you've ever had a seedling that comes up and everything looks good, and then all of a sudden it just starts to get a little squishy stem. That's dampening off, and so it's the opposite of. And so there's not really, you can't take out all that moisture that it's got, and so it's a lot easier to put the moisture back in. Okay, it's a lot easier to put the moisture back in, and plants, guys, this is a ruderal species of plant, man. This is a very hardy, for those that don't know, ruderal and the ruderalis, ruderal means first to establish, first, I can't remember what the exact Latin is, it's the first to populate, ruderal means first to populate. So in these Siberian areas, in these areas, latitudes of our planet, we've got very unique conditions up there. So the plants that were able to establish and continue to thrive there are some of the hardiest species that we have on the planet, including day-neutral cannabis, also known as autoflowers. So you guys that don't be afraid to underwater your plant, I guess, if that makes sense. Because if it is underwater and it starts to droop or you start to see it lean, you give it 3 drops of water, bam. I mean, within 20 or 30 minutes, that thing will be right back up. I've seen it. It still scares me to death to this day. But it's a much easier way to be able to give it a couple drops and have it stand back up than try to have one that's dampening off and going to die. So make sure that you just a little bit of water. One of the best measuring cups that I've ever had has been the top of a Pepto-Bismol bottle. That's what I use. It's 250 milliliters, I think, or 500 milliliter cap. And that's what I use to water my seedlings at the beginning, especially when I first started working with autos, just because I had such trouble with stunted plants and not really getting my head around the fact that watering plays such an important key into growing autos, and much more so than photos, and to the degree that they only have a set amount of time before they're going to start that biological clock kicks in. We're pretty sure that the main flowering trigger for autoflowers at this point is root pressure and root resistance. It's an evolutionary adaptation to hitting the permafrost up there in the northernmost portions of our planet. And there is also a time factor. Like, if I've seen plants that I know, and I've dug into the soil, that taproot was nowhere near the bottom of the pot or anywhere near it. So there is kind of a dead set time factor that they will start to flower. So if your root system isn't allowed to get as big as it possibly can in those first 3 to 4 weeks, then your plant's probably going to not be the best that it can be and the biggest that it can be. So that's kind of what the importance of watering that I don't think enough people take into account is the fact that it's really, really different with photos than it is for autos, just for that limited time factor. So a couple of ways to be able to tell at the beginning if your plant is underwatered or overwatered is just by being able to see what kind of growth it's doing. You should be able to tell from one day to the next with an autoflower. Each day and every day, you should be able to see some sort of noticeable growth. Now, it may not be 2 feet a day or whatever, but if y'all are anything like me, I am a freaking, I don't like to say it, but I'm a crackhead when it comes to looking at my plants. I sit out there and I watch my plants. I have got hundreds of thousands of hours of sitting there doing this. This is what my plants see. You know what I mean? And so I'm able to notice imperceptible to most what I consider noticeable growth may not be noticeable growth to other people, but I sure notice it. And so each day there should be some little sort, you should be able to see, oh, okay, now I can start to see the next internode coming out, and I can start to see a little piece of green that wasn't there yesterday. All of those types of things. You should see noticeable growth from your autoflowers every single day. Okay, be it the size of the leaves, be it another internode spacing that's got another brand new piece of foliage that's coming out of a new internode. Whatever it may be, there's something on there that you should be able to tell day by day. And if not, then you can start to assess what is causing that. These plants want to grow. I've tested it for 10 years almost, is that I've given them and I've thrown things at them that they just want to grow. Because of their limited time and their limited growing season in nature, they are designed to go as fast and as hard as they possibly can in order to preserve the generation and evolution. So studying your plants is definitely good. Making sure that the watering of those autos is not overdone at first is definitely a key. Making sure that you are keeping an eye on your plants in those first 7 to 10 days, that you really want to make sure you see noticeable growth each day, and that your watering techniques should go like this, that you should about every 3 days for the first 10 days, okay? So you should water them 3 times in the first 10 days or so. There's no one set, hey, water them 250 milliliters day 1, 350 milliliters day 3. It's not like that. And the reason, because there is so many different environmental factors that go into how the plant uses that moisture, and how is it a dry environment? Is there a lot of wind? Is there a lot of convection happening? Is there a lot of moisture evaporation? Is it hot? There's all kinds of things that go into how fast that moisture will come out of that pot. And so it's really going to be up to you to understand what your environment is and how fast that water will actually get absorbed. So I always suggest less is more. With your brand new seedling, try the mud hole method, which, for those of you that have showed up, if you take your pot of soil and you remove some of that soil in order to put your rapid rooter cube in there, just take that hole and fill that hole with water. It's going to fill up at the bottom. It's going to create a little bit of mud. Okay, that's going to create a really good, nice, moist environment that will allow your seeds to have both water and oxygen. So, and keep in mind, Stephanie, she says she vegs from 6 to 8 weeks. Keep in mind, these are all autoflowers, and everything that's going to be out of dream beans is going to be autoflowers. And so there are subtle differences between growing photoperiods and growing autos. Mainly, in the biggest difference that I see is going to be watering. And how you have limited time to be able to do root work, as I say, than you do with photoperiods. So just getting a small little Pepto-Bismol, NyQuil bottle cap, small little container, little thing like that, and use that for the first week or two to water your autos. Okay, just take one of those, fill it up, pour it in a circle around the seedling, and that should give you plenty of moisture for a couple of days. The plant doesn't use very much at that stage. It's it's a real small, little tiny thing, and so it's not. It's just a small little tiny thing that doesn't use a whole lot of water. So that's going to be the main, the main thing. You guys know you can always reach out to me via DM.